On this show, you'll find inspiration, motivation, and advice from experts, as well as valuable tips on how to get started or improve your business. Let's dive into how you can begin and grow your wisdom business. Inspiring others looks different for everyone. How will you inspire? Welcome to the Wise Dome podcast. And today we're chatting with Steve Kidd. Steve, welcome to the Wise Dome podcast.
Thanks for having me, Nikki. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's lovely having you here. And first and foremost, let's start with the typical question. Who are you and what do you do?
My name's Steve Kidd. I am a third-generation minister, an international best-selling author of, as of today, 21 books. And I help people write, publish, market their books to bestseller and beyond. But really, more than anything, what I am is I'm an up-level expert. I help people take their next step in their journey in both their life and business.
Awesome. And how do you go about doing that?
Well, part of it is just gifting and intuition. I do have this weird vision for being able to help people see the next. I tend to live a life that is what I call out on the air beyond the bleeding edge of the sword. And I've just kind of always seen that. And so some of that is intuition and empathy with the person. But, I also have more than 35 years of marketing and sales experience and really a lifetime of sales experience. And I bring that to the table to help people be able to see things that a lot of times, the old saying, you can't read the label of the jar that you're in. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it's just allowing a person to, to allow me to come into their life and read their label to them and tell them what's next.
So it takes a lot of emotional intelligence in this area, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To really absorb and acknowledge and help people evolve. So how would you say is one of the best things that you think with respect to helping people evolve, their next best person?
Yeah, absolutely. So number one is, you need to have your credentialing. That's why, I work with books. Everybody, Seth Godin said it the best. I love how he said it. He said, if you're writing your book to make money, then don't. But if you want to make money, you absolutely have to have a book. You need that third-party validation that is your best-selling book that allows people to know I have, if you will, passed the test showing that I have the knowledge to then gain the right to be able to use the knowledge that I have to do that thing that I'm meant to do in the world.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people writing books now, isn't there? Like it's just, it's so tangible to be able to actually just go out there and do it. It's fantastic. And I love that just, it's just right there. You can grab it and you can just write your books and so forth, especially with Amazon, obviously, and Kindle and all that sort of stuff. What do you say about those who might want to choose to create a course or coach people and so forth? What would you say should be the first step? Might be biased, but
right. Yeah, absolutely. So purely from a marketing standpoint, because ultimately I'm a marketing company with a strong publishing division, purely from a marketing standpoint, what I know is just like when you're building a house, the first thing you do is build a foundation. Writing your book and more importantly, making it a bestseller is the foundation from that. And then on top of that is what you build everything else. You build your course, your free giveaway, your speaker's platform, any of the things, those are going to be where you're going to make the money. You build them on that credentialing. I'll give you a perfect example. We've all seen good movies and bad movies. But what I know statistically is over 50% of all movies that are made are based off of best-selling books, meaning that if you want your book to be a movie or vice versa, you need to have first it be a bestseller because, it's half again as likely that they'll even look at it if it isn't a bestseller. The same thing's true when it comes to marketing ourselves. The difference between something simple, let's use a free giveaway. Here's 5 things that I put together. And that's cool. And it may be hugely impactful. But when we say to a person, here is the 5 things that are based out of my best-selling book that I want to give to you for free. The marketing languaging of that is just huge. And a person really needs that in order to be able to then catapult from that. So the same thing would be true course creators. I love course creators. I think everybody should have a course. If your course is, again, just here's the steps that I came up with, that's great. And, it's just as amazing. But when from a marketing standpoint, you can say, this is the course that's based off of the best-selling book on this subject, it makes all the difference in the world in your capability to be able to market and sell it.
It's almost like your media kit, isn't it? In a sense, when you create a book, it's just really pushing something out there that they can take their own time, suss you out and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Well, with respect to your journey and how you went about actually getting to where you are today, do you want to shed light on that?
Sure. So, I am a pastor's kid. My father was a minister. My grandfather was a minister. And the first thing I learned growing up in a pastor's house is that if I wanted to have money, I was going to have to learn how to do other things besides ministering in order to have money. At 5 years old, actually, my parents had bought some holiday greeting cards and napkins for my brothers, who are much older than me, to sell. And they quickly discovered that they didn't want to do that. They decided they'd rather mow lawns. And I asked, being the 5-year-old, I was like, can I sell them? And, they kind of pat, sure, here you go. They packed me up a little bag. Figured, I'd get bored in like 2 minutes or, never even leave the yard, how little kids can be. Instead, I came back with an empty bag and a pocket full of money, and I was hooked. And I've been in sales ever since. My brother told me just the other day, in fact, he said, it was annoying because we would go to a house and the person would tell us no, and we'd tell you that person said they weren't interested. And then I'd go to that person's house and they would buy it from me. Now, keep in mind, when you're 5, selling is a lot easier because you can
say no to a 5-year-old. Exactly.
But, I stuck it out. I'm now 56 and I've been in that realm in sales and marketing my whole life. And, I was a sales manager by 19, owned my own company by, 1988, I would have been 21, and have been in that realm ever since and been really, really blessed to do that. Coming into more modern, when the internet came out, actually, even before we were calling it the internet, I was beginning to do digital marketing, love technology and that kind of stuff. And then in 2007, really just actually helping my then wife and one of our youngest daughters put together a book on some travels they did visiting filming locations, actually, for the movie Twilight.
Oh, wow.
And I helped them, put that out into a book and get it published. And it actually, at one point, was the top-selling movie-related travel guide on Amazon. That was a lot of years ago, but we discovered the power of a bestseller in that, and began to, with our marketing clients, if they didn't have not only a book, but that book being a bestseller, that was one of the very first things we did, was make them a bestseller, because it increased our capability to be able to market them. And then in late 2015, we actually did the beta test, and then full scale 2016, we rolled out a full program for, literally anybody at whatever level they're at to have different options to be able to write, publish, and market their books to bestseller without it being, the grueling task that often that is brought out to be by some people.
Yeah. And I'm going to just side note here. What do you think is the most popular topic when it comes to being a bestseller?
Oh, gosh. Well, the answer to that question is almost a negative, really, because the topic that people most often as first authors put their book in is the parent category of self-help.
Yes.
Worst possible place you could totally put your book, and almost no one is really writing a self-help book. Most people are writing something that is personal development, spiritual growth for men or for women, which are two totally different categories. And those are actually subcategories of spirituality. They may be talking more about life developing over the span of your lifetime, and life development things. And those are actually technically psychological categories, even though those books aren't necessarily, many of the books in that category don't delve into psychology. They're just talking about personal development kind of stuff, but it kind of depends on. And so that's really, I know I'm kind of reverse answering your question, but that's really the nuance of it is that most people are just like, well, it's here to help people, so it must be self-help, and then they're trying to compete in the space of Tony Robbins and Oprah Winfrey's books versus, a space where they could be a big fish in the pond that they're supposed to swim in versus, just lost in the noise.
And so what would you say then? So with someone who might be looking to do write a book, and obviously they might be wanting to go down the coaching path or course creation path or whatever it is. And do you think there's a particular direction someone should go in for their first book? Like talk about their story, their journey first, or go into actually just directly helping someone? Because obviously if you're going out to create a bestseller and so forth, and you want to build trust, I'm guessing you'd probably want to write about your journey and so forth so people can get an understanding of who it is that they're going to be engaging with if they're interested.
I would go even a little further than that and say, what is that thing that you're constantly talking about? Mm-hmm. It's easiest when you have teenagers in your house because they will totally broadcast this for you. Every time you say something about that particular thing, they roll their eyes. Oh, here goes mom. Here goes dad again talking about that subject. Okay.
Exactly.
And that's always a clue as to, what that thing is that you're just passionate about. I've even met people, I'm sure you've met them too, where, they're not necessarily incredibly articulate just in general, but when they get on that one thing that is just passionate for them, all of a sudden they can just talk and really be powerful in that space. Yeah. And so there's both the, what is that thing, as well as then understanding why is that important to you? Mm-hmm. So it doesn't necessarily mean that if the thing you're harping on all the time is, will you kids clean your room? Doesn't necessarily mean that you need to write a book about, will you kids clean your room? Although that could be a very fun book, actually. But it's more along the lines of, why is that important to you?
Yeah.
Is it important to you because growing up as a child, you lived in a household where you had a mother that didn't clean the room? Or conversely, you grew up in a household where having your room absolutely 100% meticulous was a mandatory thing that you've never even questioned in your own mind whether that should be.
Ladies,
it's just, it's as solid as the fact that the ground's under your feet, kind of a thing. It could also be a skill set that you're trying to teach your child or a daily habit that you're trying to give them. So there can be a lot of nuances as to why that's important to you. And when we then take that next step, that then shows us, and really for a modern book, you want to take a point, you want to make it really clear, and you want to give the people an action from that. And so then, yes, at the beginning of each of those books, we're going to take a little bit of time rather than doing a whole book about here's me, because nobody really cares about you. I hate to say that to everybody because we all care about ourselves, but nobody else really cares. But we do have to gain that, like you said, know, like, and trust. And so at the beginning of it, we're going to tell them, this is what life, let me inspire you for a second. This is what life looks like on the other end of what I'm going to teach you.
Yeah.
And then this is what I went through to have to learn it myself. Mm-hmm. And here's how and what I learned. And we just do that. It doesn't have to be long, but we do that to begin with, because then we're engaging people's know, like, and trust, so that then we go into teaching mode and introducing the concept. And a lot of times your first book, especially if you're going to do a whole course on it, is introductory to it. You don't teach them everything. You're not going to sell them for $10 or $20 your $3,000 course. And why would they pay $3,000 for your course if they can get it for $10? But you're getting them excited about it. Again, it's a marketing tool so that you can begin to overview. Here's the things that we're going to learn, and here's why you need it, and here's how it's going to help you, and then entice them. If you really want to dive into this, if you're really ready to make that change, I've got a great course for you. Come join it, and let's really make that breakthrough for you.
That is awesome advice. Absolutely awesome advice. Was there any major lessons that you learned along the way as you were going through this journey of helping other people?
Oh gosh, how many years you got? The biggest thing that I learned, and this is such a cool kind of mind trick. The way our brains are wired, it is impossible for you to be in any of the things that we call quote unquote negative emotions, stress, fear, anger, and in service. You can't do those two things simultaneously. You can't genuinely be serving and helping somebody and be hurt, depressed, angry, stressed, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
And so when I've learned in my own life the ability to take those times when I really just don't feel it in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And intentionally step out.
Right.
Find what is something that I could do right now to help somebody else. And it could be as simple as, I don't really feel like smiling, but I'm going to smile at that cashier that looks like they're just the grumpiest person in the whole store, and just spread just a little bit of love, because it's something that I can do here in this place. Whatever that thing is, as we reach out, as we serve somebody else, it really helps us have a better life. So that would be, I mean, there's a whole bunch of other things, but that would probably be the number one I would suggest.
That is so true. I was literally having a conversation with someone yesterday about this, stepping away and helping others. And when you help others, all of a sudden just things start changing for yourself. If you're feeling like you're in a rut or whatever, just sort of stop thinking about what's going on in your life and just help maybe someone else in their life. And have you grown in any particular way in the way that you share your wisdom with others and how you help others through all of these lessons that you've learned?
Oh gosh, the biggest thing that I learned is we get so caught up in trying to do it right, or worse yet, perfect, that we don't do it at all. And I got the best piece of advice from somebody one time. I have my own podcast. Technically, it's a syndicated radio show. And they said, the problem that people run into is when they're speaking in a situation like what you and I are, they try to be perfect. They try to not use any filler words. Like you may have just heard a second ago, I said, which is technically speaking, in public speaking,
it gets cut out.
Classing, you're not supposed to do it. And it can be really funny. But when you get to the place where you just can be comfortably being you, and you allow yourself to then be vulnerable and valuable. You allow yourself to just say, hey, this is who I am. This is how I look, because we all look in the camera and we're like, oh, wonder if I could lose about 10 or 15 or 100 pounds before I do this. We all see that thing that nobody else, we see it. It's just like, everybody has to see it. Nobody else even notices all that kind of stuff, and when we begin to let that go and just say, this is me, this is where I am right this minute. And again, going back to that being in service, I just want to help you. I want to maximize today. That makes all the difference in our capability to really show up and be powerful in the space that we're in.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. People can see through the fakeness. It's just be you. Like there's no use trying to be someone else. Like I think, like I mentioned to you earlier when we were, saying hi and, introducing ourselves to each other. And it was one of those things, I'm a founder of this and tech company. But I have no tech background. So I literally went through that imposter syndrome and felt I had to be someone else. In the end, I realized I don't have to be anyone but me. I'm doing this for a reason, a cause and so forth. And I'm just going to spread it out there and, share it and so forth. And I think that is what has gotten me to where I am now, being really, who I am. That's why I love these podcasts, because I meet so many people and, the main aim is to just be yourself and tell us about yourself. It's not all about sales pitches or anything like that. We're just trying to help everyone else out there. So I would love to know, what advice would you give anyone out there who might be thinking, and we've probably touched on this a little bit anyway, but if they're looking to write a book, because obviously that seems to be the best direction to go, especially for marketing. Right. What do you think the steps they should take when they're thinking of an idea and then start sort of going into that process, getting the ball rolling?
I'm so glad you asked me that, because there are so many little nuances to that. My number one piece of advice is a good friend of mine actually wrote a book that's titled Stop Doing What You Suck At.
Yeah.
That's good. That would be right. That would be my starting place with that is we all have this vision in our head of what we're supposed to do. And we need to let that go and do the things that we're good at. So with that, everybody needs to have a book. I hope we've established that already.
Yeah, I think so.
Everybody needs to be an author. Almost no one that I've ever met is a writer. Now, I've met some amazing, incredible writers and you can tell because they'll email you deeply articulate stuff and you'll get it back as quickly as a person with a good typing speed can type it. Their mind thinks writery. Okay. Yeah. That's just how they are. Or they've done it enough that they have that as a skill set. Either way. Mm. Almost nobody is in that space, and we want to judge ourselves by that. Mm. So the real trick, the secret is something really simple, and that's speaking. We talked about it before. Yeah. A person who isn't necessarily that articulate, when you get them in their frame, they can really just express, getting that person to really talk about it. And so literally I recommend to people, and, I conduct the interviews because then I can help guide them. That's the best way. But when I write my own books, I just turn on Zoom by myself. I have a germ of an idea of what I'm going to do. I know what the process for writing a book is. Yeah. And I just begin talking and I just envision who is the person that I'm writing this book to? What do I have that I can give to them to help them out? And just start talking and we go from there. And then the secret behind that is that transcript goes to a story development editor, somebody that can look at it and go, hey, you totally missed a whole section here. Or you were telling us a story about Aunt Jan and then you just dropped it. You never let us know what happened to Aunt Jan. So that's what a story development. And so then you have a full story and then you have editors. You have people that actually really love making sure all the commas are in the right place. It's exciting for them. Drives me crazy, but it's exciting for them, and graphic artists and all those kind of things, formatters to format the book for both print and digital. And then the marketers that can come in and set up your SEO and all your keywords and categories and everything so that your book will rank not only immediately, but in the future. Yeah. And then a marketing program that understands, as my 20th book said, bestseller is only the beginning. Bestseller is where you start. The way that it works in modern society, if you have a marketing team that knows what they're doing, I'm not saying you should do it yourself, because I said that before. If you have a marketing team in place, your book should be a bestseller on day one. It should be part of the launch strategy of your book going to bestseller at the beginning.
Yeah. It'd be hard. Like, I can imagine that'd be hard though. Like if you're just starting out, you might not have the funds to actually get a marketing team and so forth. So you've got to sort of implement a little bit yourself, I'd say.
Well, and that's why in my company, we have a, done for you, done with you, taught to you strategy for it so that, wherever you are in your capability, financially, whatever, we talk about the whole concept of time versus money. Sometimes we have the money to just pay somebody to do it. And sometimes we have to spend our time to bring the cost down for us to learn how to be able to do it. And of course, the time takes longer because you have to learn it before you can do it. But either way, whatever, we love helping people go down that road.
Yeah. Well, you've been amazing to chat to today, Steve. You're absolutely wonderful. And I'd love to ask if you got an offer that you'd like to share with our listeners today.
Oh, yes. I've got a free gift for everybody that's listening. If you go to ongoingwealthguide.com, that's ongoingwealthguide.com. I've put together just a really basic, based off of, by the way, my 20th best-selling book, Bestseller is Only the Beginning, the 5 steps to really creating ongoing abundance in your life. And I define abundance not as necessarily that there's massive amounts of money in your bank account, because that's going to change. If you put a down payment on a house, does that mean you're not any more abundant than you were the day before? No, not really. But really having the capability of both understanding how to generate money, as well as more importantly, how to understand how to generate the significance that is you and putting that out into the world regularly, ongoingly, and on purpose. We talk about all that, and that's absolutely free if you just go to ongoingwealthguide.com.
Awesome. And I have one little question to ask you. What legacy are you looking to leave?
I want millions upon millions of people's lives to be changed through the tens of thousands of authors that I've helped to be able to share just that one thing that they know for sure, what they've learned now.
That's amazing. Absolutely lovely to hear. Well, like I said, Steve, you've been amazing to talk to today. And the details of Steve's offer and everything will be in our summary below. So be sure to click on all the links there and also subscribe to our podcast. Thank you again for your time, Steve. It's been greatly appreciated.
Thanks for having me, Nikki. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Wise Dome podcast. If you enjoyed and have been inspired by this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, do subscribe and please share it with others. Post about us on social media or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me, Nikki Kelly, you can follow me on Instagram at Wise Dome Podcast, WISEDOME podcast. I'm Nikki Kelly. Thanks again, and we'll catch up next time.